Hey, welcome everybody. This is Stephanie and Rohan on the political catch-up with Source.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here today. I'm excited, Rohan. How about you?
Well, yes, excited, I suppose, to see you and to be able to talk to you. But very concerned, though, about what's going on in D.C.
I think we all are. Yeah, absolutely. I was excited about the new endeavor we're embarking on here. But yes, there is definitely...
Well, great fanfare.
Definitely deep concern otherwise, yes.
Absolutely. So where should we start? I mean, my perspective is LA was step one, DC step two, where they're going next. And I don't know if you saw it, but there are crowds that were not very happy with the different Trump police that were out there. And did you see that with some of the videos that were out there where people were basically booing?
I did not. I have not seen the videos. Like we were talking earlier, and I've been combing social media for videos that I could kind of debunk myths that are held popularly, beliefs that are held nowadays. So I've not seen any recent videos of anything going on right now. So you catch us up with the political catch up.
Well, here's the thing. Now, the MAGA fascists are supposed to be really tough. Okay, they're all about being macho and dominant and all that, and they're tough guys, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw it, but they sent 20 officers around to arrest a guy who was actually somebody that works with the Department of Justice. And you know what he did to one of these ICE agents or equivalent? He assaulted them with a sub. A sandwich. Oh, my God.
And what? Yeah, they took this guy down.
Sandwich.
They fired him. He doesn't work for the DOJ anymore.
Snowflakes. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
That I did see. That I did happen to see. That one I caught. I mean, how could you not? A Subway sandwich. I mean,
everybody I know is just laughing their heads off. They're like, these P words,
really.
Pussy. Oh my God. And they send 20 people around and then they make it a felony, assault with a deadly
sandwich. It is. It's hilarious. It's
so limp.
I mean, we keep saying we gotta laugh to keep from crying here because the whole situation is just ridiculous. But that is a pretty funny situation the way you put it, as far as, they talk all this big talk and then every little thing is like, oh my God, how could you do that to me? Like type of thing.
And like Pam Bondi, it's the crime of the century. We're gonna hunt you down if you attack us with a sub. Woo-hoo.
Talk about drama queens. Yeah, it's ridiculous. That I did see.
And the way I look at it is, here in California, in LA, everybody is always on the lookout for these ICE thugs that are toting automatic weapons, have thrown things like flashbang grenades at children, and grab people, the big criminals that they hunt down. They go to Home Depot or day laborers in the field or apparel manufacturers or vendors in the street selling things like tacos. Oh, my God. Maybe it's because it's got the word taco. Trump always chickens out.
It could be that. Yes, they're very they don't like that word anymore. They're very much against that word.
Oh, taco. Ooh.
What I want to know, though, what I'd like to know is, where is all this? Where was all this? Where is all this up in arms and defending the innocent people, the innocent citizens, when real things go down, such as like school shootings or just anything like that, any kind of crime against humanity that is so much worse than a sub being thrown at somebody. Where is all this then?
Well, think about what Trump did, though, if people watched that White House rambling speech where he seemed, to me, unhinged. He rambled and he said, we're worse than Bogota in D.C. There's all these terrible things happening. And all the commentators that I've seen, all the articles that I've read and things like that show that there's a 30-year low on crime.
In
People
DC.
just like you and I who are out there live streaming and saying, oh, look at the terrible things. Oh, people are drinking coffee. You know, are you kidding me? And they come in heavy-handed. And this is obviously, you know, it's not a response to anything. This is all scripted. Mm-hmm. This is the MAGA fascist playbook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're running it play by play here. We don't know what's coming next, but anything to get a rise out of their aligners and to make everybody look bad and to make everything seem so much worse than it is.
I don't know if you had a chance, because I know you've been busy with different things, but did you see what triggered the whole thing, that triggered Trump to make him do this? Or the pretext that he used?
I think I did read it, but remind me.
Edward Corzine, better known as Big Balls, who was one of those Doge guys that went in and ripped all the information out and basically plundered all the government information from every department that they went to, who was an ex-hacker, who was brought in. I believe he was a hacker, or some of them were anyway, if he wasn't. But they were like technical guys that would actually hook in and let something like Grok, we think, is what happened, which is, you know, AI is Elon Musk's, you know, AI from AIX. Yeah. Yep. And we believe that was scraping. Well, a couple of teenagers apparently went and tried to hijack his car, which nobody is going to condone. I mean, we don't condone violence like that, but they beat him up. And so Trump went into a rage and said, oh, on that basis, he projects that DC is the worst in the whole world. And he was calling out different cities all over the world that have a crime problem. Well, that he thinks they have. Who knows what the reality is? But he was claiming that the whole of DC was then a cesspit and it was being badly run, wasn't being policed properly, and then did what he did to LA and just brought the troops in. But here's the thing that I wanted to point out is he was so quick to do that and then ramble on and justify it. But what happened in Texas when the flood came through and the weather prediction people had been fired by Doge so that the connection through to give the warning to the people to let them know, which could have potentially saved all those people that were lost, or at least a big chunk of them, giving them the heads up and the warning. But NOAA, the weather service, had lost key people, so the message was never released until after the fact. And how quick were they to send in FEMA? How quick were they to help out and send in emergency services? Days later, crickets. Yeah. But Edward Corzine, Big Balls, because he's one of the Doge guys, out comes the National Guard, out comes FBI, etc. Now, okay, DC is not a state, and it comes under the purview of the Congress, but come on. Big Balls gets hit, and he says, well, if you hit us, we'll hit you back, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's all about
that's not what a president
asserting
does.
his power, but he goes about it the wrong way, and he goes about it for the wrong things, or for the wrong reasons, for the wrong incidents, and he's completely misusing the resources that we have as far as pulling in military and Homeland Security for these instances, for these situations. He's misusing these resources because that is not their job. That is not what the military is for. That is not what Homeland Security is for. Those missions are completely separate from local state police, officials, and what their jobs are. He can obviously, because he does it, but he shouldn't be able to misuse our resources like that. And they're not there for those reasons. They're not there to help local and state police do their jobs.
You have a military background in that. Weren't you like a sniper at one point too in the military, in the army?
No. I wasn't a sniper. I
had sniper training though.
No, I mean, I did shoot. I don't know where that came from, but I did when I went to the range.
Because we were talking about the different levels of snipers. And I didn't realize that they were actually grades of sniper. So a sharpshooter is different to. Oh
yeah. There's marksman, sharpshooter, and expert, and I did shoot expert every time I went to the range. Pretty much every time. I don't remember exactly, but I was pretty good with the M16.
Well, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hide.
And especially since I played softball as a kid, I was definitely an expert every time we went to the grenade range. So I'm a good shot.
You're good at lobbing stuff.
I got a good arm. Yeah. So that there's that. I got that.
So I was going to ask you, because on Park Rose Permaculture, which Angela over there, she's one of the other commentators that I follow a lot, who's fantastic and is indefatigable. I don't know how she pumps out so many videos, and she's like a machine gun. Her mind's really locked on. A bit like Monty Mader, who we were talking about earlier. Another one of my favorites out there. But the thing that got me is that Angela was saying on Park Rose Permaculture, was saying a lot of the National Guard troops that were sent, and even I think, some of the Marines that were sent to LA said that they were not only bored out of their skulls, some of them really just didn't want to be there. They had better things to do, because the National Guard people, they're just ordinary people who come in. But I was thinking, if there's military that are being sent, and, knowing the time that you were there and the experience that you had, how do you think you would have felt in those situations? Would you have felt uneasy about being, instead of being sent into a combat zone or something, being used on DC, for instance, or LA?
Yeah, I would have been completely conflicted as far as having to follow orders and disagreeing completely with the whole mission, with the whole reason for being there, and the whole reason behind having to be there, and things like, all of it, the whole situation. It would have been I would have had a huge conflict of interest within myself. I would have been, I don't know. I really can't say what I would have done in that situation, as far as how I know how it would feel, because that's exactly how it would feel. I would feel torn. And
but when in the military, isn't it? You're under. You must follow orders, right? I mean, how does that work?
Correct. I mean, if you don't follow orders, there's definitely repercussions. I mean, you have choices to either do what you're told, as far as from the higher ups, or be basically held, in contempt, or get some kind of repercussion, some kind of consequence, and that would mean in some kind of court, you get charged with something, depending on what But
I mean, in the worst case scenarios, you could spend time in a brig for years, right?
You could, yeah, absolutely, depending on a lot of things, yeah, and with the way everything is kind of corrupt.
Well, like the JAG officers,
you never know what you would get.
Like one of the first things they did was to purge all the JAG officers. So, your judge advocate general, for those that don't know, which is in the military courts and things like that, the judge advocate generals are like a judicial judge, but they're the military equivalent.
Yeah. So who would even?
So it's rigged.
How does that look nowadays? Yeah, how does that look? What?
And the point I was going to make, though, why Angela raised this was in Yugoslavia. A lot of people probably wouldn't have known about this, but in Serbia, Slobodan Milosevic ruled with an iron hand. It was basically a dictatorship, even though it was kind of a more a left-leaning one in theory. But I mean, dictatorships, totalitarian, whatever it is all about you're not having elected people, when you're basically having either one party or one person ruling without really any checks on their power. And so what happened with Milosevic in Yugoslavia at the time? What Angela was saying from Park Rose Permaculture was that a lot of the people would go and try and talk to the secret police, to the military and whatever, would say, hey, we're people like you. We are just ordinary people. Don't kill us. And eventually, because of such an outcry, because the guy had been so corrupt for so long, the momentum went against him. And so even the military just refused to follow orders to shoot people and things like that. Which is a really risky thing to do.
Yeah. And if you have enough people, though, if you have enough force, then they can't really, it's just like anywhere in civilian world, if you got enough people, they can't really arrest everybody. They can't really do, they can't really do anything to everybody. And so if you have a big enough movement to be able to say, hey, we're not doing it, then that wins out usually. But yeah, but that takes a lot. That takes a lot to get to that point, to get enough people to follow you, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a momentum thing, like a critical mass. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing that Angela was talking about recently that I thought was a really good point, where there are people like we're doing now talking about this on whatever the platform is, whether it's YouTube or whether it's TikTok, which I don't indulge in, but some do, and that's great for them, or Instagram or whatever the platform is. And then there's different stacks and things like that are out there. And, the figures are showing actually that for the major networks, their viewership's dropping. So the ratings are dropping for them, and the ratings are even dropping for the cable channels. And we're seeing a huge rise in social media. And I think part of that is because, frankly, CNN has been soft shoeing this. Even MSNBC, even though I know Fox and the people on Fox and some of the right-wing commentators are saying, oh, they're so biased, but they're so gentle on what's going on. We're talking about the biggest threat in America's history, the biggest potential for a fascist takeover of the country. It's imminent and it's pressing. And yet some of the media are just dancing along like nothing's happening. To send troops and take over DC, particularly after what happened in Los Angeles, which was all a load of rubbish. And by the way, just for the record, for those of you out there, I live in LA, and I can tell you that we are cohesive here. We don't need and don't want Trump and his cronies coming in overruling us. We don't need these masked thugs coming in, destroying businesses, damaging communities, and tearing families apart. We don't need that. And the little bit of a protest you saw where a couple of Waymos were on fire and some idiots jumped up on them, and the right-wing plants went in and took some shots so that Fox News could play it 24/7 saying, oh, they're rioting in LA. Los Angeles, the greater area is over 20 million people. If anybody has gone to a bigger city, good luck. It's maybe China or something. But you're hard-pressed to find a bigger city. It's cohesive here. There is law and order. Yes, are there problems? Well, you put 20 million people together and you watch what happens. But it's prosperous here. It is cohesive here. And I can tell you, all the people I know in this area and people all over the world that I know are horrified about what ICE has been doing. And so what they're doing to DC, I think, is building on that. When are they going to go? They've already, Trump has basically signaled that he's going to do this to New York. Good luck with that. We all know how tough the New Yorkers were, like when 9/11 happened and how they pulled together. They are, if they don't think that we're going to fight to the bitter end if they come for us, they got another thing coming. Here, it's palpable. We don't want Trump and his cronies here. Okay, there's a few right-wingers here, but I tell you, the majority hate what's happening here. And we could see in DC, if anybody wants to go and watch the protests, Trump is not wanted in the streets of DC.
Well, to your first point about the media, they're scared. They're scared of the repercussions because of him. What he's doing he's knocking everybody down a notch. And it doesn't matter who you are, is media, journalists, everyday people, anybody who opposes him, he's taking them down. He's going after them, and he can do things that he shouldn't be able to do, and that's scary. So of course it's going to be a little soft and kind of censored as to what they say or how big of a deal they make it, and that's their job, to make everything a big deal. So
absolutely,
we got to leave that to them, because otherwise they get all pissed off, and they make it known that they are. So there's that, which is scary, like you said, because they're pussy. I don't know if I can say that. Edit that part.
But we can always edit things.
They're tiptoeing.
We can beep things out.
Yeah, they're tiptoeing around, like they're walking on eggshells here, and it's a scary thing. And then to your other point, about cities, coming together and these times like this, these kind of situations like 9/11, like you said, it does. It has a way of bringing people together. It rises above our little differences, our little, races, and we don't look at people. We look at people as human beings in those times. And that's what we need to do right now. That's what needs to happen instead of all these little petty arguments that they're throwing at us and
if anybody wants an example
of
exactly what you're talking about, LA is it. It is a multicultural society, and there are people from all parts of the world here, and we get along. And if you are polite and decent and reasonable with people, most people will reflect that back. Are there a few gangs or a few people that have
everywhere
that are angry, whatever the race is? Yeah. But I mean, I don't mind people that have come over from Mexico, or, hey, by the way, LA and California used to be part of Mexico, guys. So you've got to expect that's going to be a lot of people from that region here. And
absolutely.
Hey,
it's right
they speak Spanish. So, and if they want to wave the Spanish flag, the Mexican flag or whatever it is, fine. I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, if they're pro-American first, but they still have pride in their heritage, that's great. I mean, you look on things like my big fat Greek wedding thing, and the guy there had his Greek flag out the front. And I mean, there are lots of people from all around the world, and they'll, like, if you're German, if you're French, if you're Swedish, whatever it is, or whether it's from parts of Africa, you have a tie there. That's natural. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I mean, if you put that above the community, okay, that's a problem. But if you're bringing your culture and you're bringing in and contributing,
proud of it.
Diversity is a good thing. I mean, it's a bad thing. Oh, come on. All it means is just embrace the different foods.
Embrace differences.
I love Thai food. I love Vietnamese food. I love Indian food.
I love Mexican food. Mexican's my favorite. I love tacos.
Did you hear that?
I love tacos. Beep that out
if we're going to show this to the MAGA fascists. You've got to beep it out. Beep it out because the MAGA fascists won't like it. All tacos are bad.
They can. Tacos are my favorite food, so you can't take them away.
Epstein yet?
Yeah, right. Epstein. Yeah, like you said, you're from California. You're in LA. I'm in close to Milwaukee. That's a very, very. I don't know if you've ever been to Wisconsin. Milwaukee is like the highest population and the most diverse. The rest of Wisconsin is
I've been to Chicago and around there, and Illinois, and
I always say
Colorado,
Milwaukee,
but I don't think I quite made it to Wisconsin. I would love to do that.
Milwaukee is like a mini
Isn't it
Chicago.
Called Big Sky Country? Is that Big Sky Country?
No, that's Montana.
Montana. Oh. Okay.
No, Milwaukee is very, very, very diverse. Very diverse. I always say it's a mini Chicago. Because it's just, there's a little bit of everybody, and you got
where Happy Days was set.
Yeah. So, what was my point to that? So, it's very diverse. And you were saying, what was my point? Oh, okay. Getting back on track here. Sorry. Yeah, I was like all over the place there for a sec. Happy Days, right. You got me going back to, I was thinking of other stuff along those lines, but all right, let's get back to the point here. So I just saw that, I don't know if it was, and this isn't recent, this is a couple weeks ago, so I don't know the newest updates on this, but there was like 13 counties in Wisconsin where the sheriffs signed on to help ICE, to help, with the whole.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. So Washington County was one of the sheriffs that signed on to help. I live in Washington County. I was very disturbed by that. So I haven't seen any of this. I haven't seen the what's going on with that or anything. Like I physically seen it. I don't leave my house much, honestly. I have a toddler and
Yeah, I know. So as we know, yes.
Yeah. So I don't get out much, but I have not seen anything. But yeah, that was very disturbing to me that the county I live in is helping ICE. So what does that consist of? And I'm scared like everybody else. So
I've seen a lot of the commentators like Hawk and a few others have picked up different people that are just out there broadcasting about it that you are seeing in a lot of red states. But even here, the LAPD was not friendly.
We were blue until Trump.
Yeah. And
But anyways,
it's scary because if the local police then help round people up, I mean, there's lots of cases of that where they're hooking in and providing information on people that, it's not like they're criminal. Here's the thing. The whole justification about this was, we're going to get the rapists and the murderers and the violent criminals. The percentages of that, I think the last thing I saw was a rough estimate, and it's very elastic because ICE isn't reporting everything, and we don't have everybody in the system. And there's lots of debates on what constitutes crime. But if you're talking hardcore crime, I saw stats that showed that it was well under 7% of the people that they've grabbed. I think we have, what was it last I saw, somewhere around 60,000 people in those black holes in Louisiana and some of the other nightmare places dotted around, a lot of them in remote locations. So you can't get your legal representation there. Even if you're legitimate, even if you're a citizen and they grab you and you can't prove it, or a lawful permanent resident, or a visa holder, or if you're a student on a student visa, or even worse, all of the tourists that come through. Just look at Vegas. Vegas was looking forward to having a good turnout, and it's dead quiet. You can hear a pin drop there in Vegas and places like that. I mean,
I was just in Vegas the end of June.
Really?
It was not
was it dead?
Like it wasn't dead, but it was not anywhere near what it usually is.
How many billions of dollars is that costing? I mean, I just see this as on the balance sheet. I just see all of this on the liability side, or it's not.
There's
it's on the red side of the ledger, not the black guys. Because it's not positive numbers. These are negative numbers, people.
Yeah,
and they're going to pay these people.
Yeah, I just did. On From Dirt We Grow, I highlighted a little bit about this, what you were talking about, the numbers here. So as of July 27th this year, about 57,000 detained by arresting detainees in these concentration camps, let's call them. That's what they are.
That's exactly what they are.
So 57,000 as of July 27th. Now listen to this stat. 71% have no criminal convictions. 71% have no criminal convictions. And the ones that do, it's not murder.
It's something minor, like a misdemeanor or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's mostly, you know what it mostly is their visa, violations or whatever it is, their immigration violations. That's mostly what these criminals consist of.
Yeah, not like we're told to believe, which is supposed to be murderers and things like that. Oh, and if we're going to talk about an unfair treatment, I mean, let's face it, like in the alligator Alcatraz and things like that, how many people are you cramming into a room? And there's like a couple of faucets of water next to a toilet. Are you kidding me? But it's even worse in Louisiana. I mean, I think I was telling you that there's an ACLU document that talks about the black holes. In fact, I should get that and we can look at it at some point. But it tells a horror story that, people were chained by the wrists, by the waist and by the ankles. They're not criminals. They're ordinary people like you and I and everybody else watching. And they grabbed these people and shipped them off to these areas in Louisiana because the courts there are more favorable to them, and it's much harder to do things like, when we can talk about this, about if you ever get grabbed and you're a citizen or you're a lawful permanent resident or whatever it is, you need to get a ruling from a court with habeas corpus to get released. And that's a whole topic. If we want to talk about that sometime, I've gone right through it in detail. In fact, I've got videos on it if you really want to go into some detail on it. But anyway, in those hellholes, there are stories of underwear that is soiled being given to people that are brought in. You basically, when you often strip searched, God help us, not a criminal, you shipped in these prison buses, chained up, and apparently on the journeys. Like Jasmine Mooney, who was on, what's it called, American Pie, who was a Canadian actress, actually wrote about this and said that some people end up, they don't get a toilet break on those buses. So, you can imagine what happens. And we're talking long distances, hundreds of miles, in a bus, chained up. And often people are not given water, they're not fed and things like that. It's a nightmare. Like a lot of these people we hear testimony that 24 hours they're denied water and things like this. In the United Nations and things like that, this is considered torture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's that bad.
Cruel and unusual punishment.
And they arrive at these prisons, and you are put into a stinky jumpsuit that hasn't been washed. You're denied showers for extended periods. You don't get much exercise, and it's a privilege to get it. And then they feed you, because it's like the Geo Group and groups like that, and LaSalle and some other ones. They make money. These are for-profit prisons, and they make billions. It's big business, and they try and cut it down. So they feed you moldy things, things that are off,
maggots.
Expired, whatever. Yeah, maggots, rats, cockroaches. And you're having to put on somebody else's underwear who's been shipped on or whatever that's soiled, and you have to marinate in that. I mean, this is like a third world prison thing. And this is the United States.
It's worse than that. Yeah. Imagine. I would never in a million years would have thought this is where we would be. And that so many people would not see it for what it is as well. That's mind-blowing as well. But have you seen the latest that Trump has done to the immigration court system now?
Oh, removing the judges?
Bail.
100?
No, removing
bail.
Now, that's usually reserved for, murderers.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. You're right.
Yeah. So these families, they're torn apart. These hardworking, decent, tax-paying citizens are thrown into this court system for no reason, for no reason, depending on what it is. But
illegally,
like we saw, 71% are for no reason, at least.
You're talking about undocumented, though, because you said citizens.
Well, I'm not sure.
There are some citizens that they pick up, but ICE has no power. I
suppose it is undocumented. You're right.
They can only do it with people that aren't citizens. But then they need probable cause under the Fourth Amendment. Oh,
come on. They're foregoing due process. They're foregoing all these constitutional rights that they should, not be foregoing.
And people, just so you know, the Constitution covers anybody within the realm of the United States, which means everybody gets a Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment rights, First Amendment rights. Every person is covered by it.
If you're on the soil, you have the right, whether you're here or not. I mean, whether you're born here or not, whether you're a citizen or not, whether you're documented or not. That's absolutely right.
And this is why there's such a problem with ICE grabbing people, because there's so many cases now of people here in LA that are citizens or lawful permanent residents that are just being grabbed. And there's no probable cause. They don't have a warrant. And
but
it's
like
just
I said,
indiscriminate.
Either way, I guess it could be for both. If you're undocumented or if you're a citizen, if you're thrown in the court system for the undocumented reason or for the immigration reason, you're not getting bail. That's it. Like, it doesn't matter what you did or did not do, which is insane. Because like I said, they're tearing you apart from your family. They're tearing you away from your job. And now you can't even defend yourself. How can you get a lawyer if you're in jail?
And they deny
you
people.
Can't get bail.
Even citizens are denied, and that's why they're in there for weeks sometimes before they finally get out. In fact, they don't.
So they
don't document a lot of these people that slip through. Mm-hmm. So who knows where they are? If you don't know anybody, you might be caught there. You might be a citizen or legitimate, and you can be sent to one of these hellholes and not get legal representation. And finally, if a court, after 6 months, they're supposed to release you, but you still have to make a court a lodgement in the court. So if you don't have friends and you're cut off, you're in real trouble. But the other thing is that people are not realizing is they have systematically, like Bondi went in, has basically fired any of the judges that aren't ruling the way she wants because they're administrative judges. And a lot of people don't realize the difference. The judiciary, like the ones that oversee the courts or where the Supreme Court is and the circuit courts and all that, they're very different. The Department of Justice administrative judges, called immigration judges, they serve really at the pleasure, although it's a little more complex than that, but basically at the pleasure of the Department of Justice through Pam Bondi. And if Pam Bondi gives the order saying, I want these people removed, they, over the time since Trump came to power in the 20th of January, have removed over 100 immigration judges. And there's a 4 million people plus backlog. And so if you hear the MAGA fascists say, oh, these people are jumping the queue, they are destroying and have ripped the queue to pieces. Anybody that had legitimate reasons for coming in under the law or a decent path to citizenship, it's sabotaged. And how are you going to get through? Like in, I think it was one place in Colorado, they've got one judge now for a whole huge area.
How
How can they possibly do justice?
You can't expect them to do any kind of justice that way.
Okay, well, thanks for this. We've got a lot of topics to cover, and unfortunately, we didn't get to cover all of them, Stephanie. But good to see you. I know you've got limited time, so it was fantastic we were able to catch up. But let's get on again, and we can pick up from where we left off.
Absolutely. Always enjoy talking to you, and we'll do it again soon. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks, people, for joining us. This is the political catch-up with Sauce with Stephanie and Rohan.
Yes, thank you guys. Have a good one.
All the best. Right. Bye-bye.